everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. I'll be your astrologer for this week. Welcome. I hope everybody's doing well. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys are good. Boy, we have an action-packed week. I was like looking at the transits throughout the week and I was like, there's literally something happening every single day. Now, apologies, maybe a little clickbait on this video, okay? Yes, there's gonna be a new moon in Gemini coming, but it's not going to be actually until next week. However, you guys know how this works. The last video that I do for Astro Weather of the month, it's gonna be the month ahead. So I was kind of like, do I give them the new moon early? So just, you know, just kind of disclaimer, the new moon is not actually going to be until the 30th. So if you click this because you're like, I wanna know all about the new moon, it's going to be later in the video. I'm going to save you the time now because some of the things that we're talking about in terms of the transits, we're reviewing a little bit. There's a lot of things that are retrograding that are kind of picking up again, transits that we've seen recently. And there's also some new stuff coming too. So I guess headlines this week would be a Mercury-Pluto trine, right? Sun sextile Jupiter, a Venus-Pluto square, and Mars and Venus are changing signs. So specifically for this week, May 22nd through the 28th, in my opinion, that's really the big news outside of the Pluto-Venus square. If you guys didn't catch that video, please check it out. I did a whole hour talking about Venus and Aries forming the square to Pluto. Why it's important, because it's talking about tests that allow us to break out of obsessive, controlling, manipulative patterns in love and resources and relationships, really learning that we need to kind of supersede and move above some of those difficult energies because Mars and Venus, they rule the North Node and the South Node. So I've seen a lot of like messages, DMs, texts, people emailing me being like, this energy is so intense. I'm fighting with my partner. I'm having a lot of friction with, you know, coworkers in regards to budgeting and spending. And yes, that is the energy, right? So even though it's Gemini season and we've got these nice aspects between Jupiter in Aries and the Sun in Gemini, air and fire fueling each other, it's kind of buzzing. Kind of, you know, behind all of that, this really heavy Venus-Pluto square is setting up this next couple days. And I think it's really kind of asking us to move out of old relationship standards and patterns, you know, no longer repeating the trauma drama of, you know, feeling fixated on the past, obsessive about the past, not being able to forgive. And whenever we see Pluto-Venus themes, there's this sense of also re-examining past wounds in relationships and getting triggered again. And this is very active because it's a cardinal square. Probably tier 2, just as equal, is the Mars and Venus changing signs. So right at the end of this square, because it's happening at the end of Aries, right? And also Pluto's at the end of Capricorn. We then see that Venus moves into Taurus. Yay! We like this, right? Because Venus is much happier in a Venus-based sign. Super grounded out in Taurus. I'm really looking forward to Venus's movement through Taurus, coming into conjunction with both the North Node and Uranus. So certainly it is going to shake things up a little bit, guys. That's a big deal. We want to pay attention to what Venus is doing. And Mars also will ingress into Aries this week. Holy cow. These are going to be big changes because, you know, prospectively, like I said, you know, Venus rules Taurus and Mars rules Aries. So we've got these two placements that are kind of really working because they're hanging out in their domicile. So it's going to really activate the North and the South Node, and we're going to start really seeing things pick up. It's like I said, guys, the end of May going into June, you're going to be like, the year is starting, here we go. So we're gonna start seeing stuff kind of shift. And we will experience a dark moon happening as well. So right at the end of this week, this astro weather is gonna take you a little bit into the new moon, obviously. We're gonna see stuff kind of shake out. And as always with dark moons, or just as the moon is actually moving through Taurus, which we like, we're going to see the opportunity to kind of ground out, focus, get quiet, and create that space where we're going to be able to really manifest. Loving the Gemini new moon. Cannot say enough good things about it. Some really wonderful aspects with Mercury. Even though Mercury is retrograde, we're going to see that Mercury is actually getting ready to station in early June, and we're going to move out of this Mercury retrograde. And personally, the beginning, like shadow, I don't know about you guys, but the shadow was like fucking wild. For me, it was travel stuff, and like I got sick, and like all kinds of weird things happened. But then I realized it was this need to slow down and restructure things. And once I kind of put two and two together, I was like, okay, this is actually really good. It's helping me strategize and just rework the way that I'm thinking about stuff. So I don't know if you guys have had that aspect, but you know, the trines to Pluto were powerful. I'm looking forward to also Mercury going direct, getting out of the shadow in early June and seeing it come into a trine with Saturn. And we're really going to realize what the juice has been all about the last week or two, and why there's been some kind of mix-ups and things from the past popping up, right? I've had weird things like sending emails, a new email chain. This is very Mercury retrograde. I had a new email chain, and I was going back and forth with somebody who had never emailed before. And then out of the blue, it got tagged in a connection to a stream of emails that I had from 2017. No connection, no correlation, not the same person. And I kept sitting there thinking about it, going like, what's the connection? And I went, oh, it's a very similar partnership. It's a very similar dynamic that I had in 2017 with somebody else, right? It's a very similar working dynamic. And it was Mercury's kind of way of being like, hi, pay attention to this. This is significant. So maybe you guys are seeing those fun little coincidences. We've had the Sun Mercury Cazimi playing out the last like day or two. Awesome day to be connecting with Mercury because he's still sprinkling his little Cazimi sprinkles all over the place right now. So we're going to first talk about kind of moving through the transits for the week. Kind of like I said, you know, it's like your astrological forecast, your weather forecast. So you guys know what's going on all week long. It's an active week. We have something happening literally every day, other than Friday the 27th. That's the kind of chill in between zone. But even then, there's still stuff kind of brewing, right? And I played astrological detective and dug deep into why this new moon in Gemini is so significant. It's activating a number of points that I'm realizing is kind of pointing to a storyline that's been going on since about November of 2020. So there's some fun stuff that's happening, and it's very, very, very intrinsically tied in some way to the Mars retrograde in Gemini as well. So if you're a Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising, if you have any placements from anywhere, let's say between like 8 and 12 degrees of Gemini, you really want to pay attention to this discussion because it's going to be very specific for you. If you have personal planets there, your Venus, your Mars, your Saturn, your natal Uranus, whatever, Mercury even, pay attention because this is going to be very significant for you. I'm going to help you kind of put the pieces together. So let's go ahead and talk first about the astrology for the week of May 22nd, today through the 28th. And I'm lumping into this video also talking to you guys all about the new moon in Gemini. So those of you guys who don't mind, I know there's so many awesome people who watch this all the way through. Thank you. God bless you for doing that, listening to me ramble for an hour and a half on a Sunday. If you guys can tag these, that'd be really helpful because I'm sure there's going to be some people who are going to be like, I don't need the forecast, just give me the new moon. If you could do that, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And while you're at it, please do consider giving me a thumbs up, giving me a comment, letting me know where is this taking place in your chart. How are you feeling these energies, whether it's the Venus-Pluto square, if you're excited because you're a Mars or you're a Venus-ruled chart about these transiting planets moving into those signs, or where the new moon is taking place for you. Any interaction with the channel, with my videos, even leaving a comment is going to help me get into the YouTube algorithm. Guys, we hit 5,000 subscribers. I hit my very first goal. Let's get it to 10,000. I'm hoping by the end of summer, I can make content for you even more often than I already have been. It's possible because you guys interact with the channel and also because of memberships. Thank you guys so much for those of you guys who are members. I love you guys so much, and I'm going to keep giving you more content. So please leave me a comment. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to talk about today, May 22nd, 2022. Well, what's happening? I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling it. Maybe it's because I'm in a Mercury-ruled year. Mercury is retrograding back into Taurus. So it's been in this very kind of flighty, kind of energy, buzzing placement of Gemini. Today, we're going to feel it drop back down into Taurus. Now, Mercury has been retrograde. So if you guys think back to what's been happening the last 2 weeks, when we had Mercury coming into shadow, maybe you guys started kind of feeling the bang up of stuff taking place. You may feel that again. But when we move from a mutable air to a fixed earth sign, we kind of stabilize, we become more rational, right? The mind becomes more kind of pragmatic. We start thinking about what we're building. And Taurus is what we value. It's money, resources. It's anything to do with our security, our stability, our physical bodies. So I'm really liking actually throughout the week, the fact that as Mercury retrogrades, it's going to come into a trine with Pluto in Capricorn again. So it's really great for business. It's really great for organizing money, going and doing accounting, working out a budget, anything like that. Now, also today, we're seeing Mars in Pisces come into a sextile with Pluto in Capricorn. Is it just me? But it seems like Mars is crawling through Pisces. I'm just like waiting for it to get into Aries, but I know that it's like just gonna cosmically bitch slap a lot of people in the face. But Mars making the sextile to Pluto in Capricorn is really getting us in tune very much with this sense of, okay, well, where does our power lie? And how do we feel about change and transformation? There is this very kind of metaphysical feel to this because Pluto is otherworldly, Neptune is invisible, and we're kind of feeling that things are kind of lingering, like there's something in the air. Very short transit. It's getting into the tail end of the degrees of Pisces. So certainly we're going to feel when anytime anything hits 28, 29 degrees, it's the excess of that sign. I'm spending the rest of the day in the pool. That is my plan. With Mars in the late degrees of Pisces, I'm gonna squeeze every drop of this out before Mars goes into Aries, and I know that the tempo of the cosmos are gonna pick up, and we're just gonna see suddenly we have to hit the ground running. Part of this is because Mars in Aries is like putting your foot on the gas pedal. Part of this is also because we're going to see that Mars is gonna come into conjunction with Jupiter, and it's also in a sextile to the sun. So things are gonna get really loud. We're gonna feel the volume turn up quite a bit as the week goes on. Now on the 23rd, we are going to see that the sun in Gemini forms a sextile with Jupiter in Aries. This is cool, right? We've seen with Mercury retrograde that it's been making a sextile to Jupiter. So it's been going back, receiving information, positive news, things traveling very quickly. But with the sun sextile Jupiter, you really want to look at where Gemini is in your chart. That's where the action is, right? The sun is there. So depending on the house, there's going to be a lot of communication about that house topic. The sextile is a positive, easy energy. It's a Venusian energy forming with Aries. So Jupiter in Aries is what's new, what we're building the courage to do, what we're motivated to achieve, how we're going and actually traveling, learning, and experiencing things and getting really revved up, and also focusing a lot on our own personal beliefs and our own personal morals. As that sextile is the sun, we want to talk about it, we want to act it out, we want to be about it. So take a look at where that's happening in your natal horoscope. This same day on the 23rd, we see that Mercury forms a sextile to Mars in Pisces. Interesting. So we've got, Mercury sextiling Mars saying, so how do you feel about the direction that you're going in your life, right? How do you feel about that? And then we've also had Mars that's making a sextile to Pluto. We've still got a lot of activation with this locomotive pretty much from Capricorn through Taurus through Pisces. There's a lot of changing and transforming our personal power and where we put power, how that relates to our belief system in the Pisces realm, and how that helps kind of send more energy to Taurus in terms of how we can restructure how we think about ourselves, right? Where our values lie. I know I keep saying that, I sound like a broken record, but it's like a lot of people are thinking right now what they should be doing with their money, right? What they believe in, right? What they're valuing. Do you feel like you need to spend a lot of money in the stock market? Do you feel like you need to buy a new home? Do you feel like you need to have a fancy car? Or is it more important for you to be budgeting and structuring and going, actually, I really am willing to make sacrifices so I can have my organic veggies, or so I can make sure that I can have all of my precious stones and things like that. Very Taurus stuff. So there's a lot of people, probably because of what's going on economically, globally, right? We're seeing all kinds of delays still. We're also seeing major inflation of everything from food, right? The North Node's in Taurus. So, food prices are soaring. We're going to see land prices go up. Obviously, the real estate market is insane right now. Everything's skyrocketing. That's the North Node. And it's how is it making us feel? But the real question is, with the aspects to Pluto and Neptune, is it real? Is it an illusion? Is it going to last, right? That's the real question that I have. So I want you guys to be asking yourself, as you're going through this transit on Monday, are my ideas and my thoughts and how I'm communicating really resonating with my spiritual desires, with what my heart or my higher self is telling me that I need to be motivated to do? And where do we really need to add a little bit more belief to be able to better restructure things? Because I keep telling everybody, we have to believe it before we see it. A really good practice to get into, especially in this Mercury retrograde period this next week, is getting up and saying thank you to the universe for all of the things that the universe has given you, even if you have not received it yet. Thank you for that amazing abundant garden. Thank you for that pay raise. Thank you for my healthy health, healthy health. Hello. Thank you for my positive health, my good health. Thank you for my career moves and the doors that have opened for me, whatever. It's very physical. So we want to think about it in a sense of abundance and value, whatever that may be. It doesn't always come with a dollar sign, right? For many people, it's like, thank you for my strong, healthy relationship. Thank you for my healthy family, for my dog, my car, whatever. It doesn't have to be money, but it's definitely things that you value. So I want you guys to get into that, like manifesting, really sitting in it, feeling it. And Taurus deals with pleasure. So, I mean, I know this is like a little rated R, but I kept seeing stuff that was popping up. I can't remember whose podcast it was. Somebody was talking about sex magic, basically. And they were talking about that, the whole purpose of that, even if it's not about exchange with another person, but that idea of pleasure and climax. And that when you're really focusing on manifesting something, you're experiencing what you're manifesting in all of the different senses, right? You want to visualize it. You see what you're manifesting. You want to smell it. You want to taste it. You want to feel it in your hands. And in that moment of climax, in that moment of release, you send that intention out into the universe, and then it comes to be, right? And through this repetitive motion, whether you're doing this regularly with yourself, loving somebody else, sharing that intention with a partner, and you keep focusing on it, that why people become so fixated on that practice is not only because of the intimate aspect and that union, but that connection with yourself. If you're doing it with yourself and how you're using that energy to vibrationally say to the universe, thank you for this, I received this, I've already experienced it in so many different ways, okay, now I'm ready to receive. That's how this energy works, right? That's how the Neptune aspects move and work with the Taurus mansion, whether it's the North Node, whether it's Mercury, whether it's going to be Venus that's moving there pretty soon. For many people, we're going to start to see things physically manifest, but it's because of what we are visualizing, what we're praying to, what we're thanking the universe for. So whatever it is, just be mindful that it is okay for you guys to receive, right? Pleasure, feel good, taste good, feel good. Get the massage, go and get the manicure, pedicure. If you need to feel like you need to go and do something nice for yourself, for your body, self-care doesn't need to be limited to spending money. Self-care could be literally spending the day out in the sun and enjoying, an ice cream. Like literally, that's how simplistic Taurus can be. All right, so on the 24th, and this is when the universe goes, and we're going to turn it to high volume. Mars enters Aries. There's a brand new cycle. If you guys do not know where that is, look at your rising sign, look at from your rising sign where Aries is in your chart. If you don't know, check out a chart calculator. Or I've also put out a video that's all about Jupiter going into Aries, and I talk specifically about when Jupiter and Mars come together, and you have to just do it. Don't think, do it quickly. Even if you don't know how things are going to go, even if you don't have a plan, start something, initiate something. Go watch that video because I talked to you all about how to use it. Amazing energy. I think we haven't had it since like the 70s, like this particular conjunction, while Jupiter and Mars are coming together at the same time. So this is big energy. The positive is like hitting the ground running, learning something new, taking the initiative. It's going to be great for self-defense stuff, great for people who are into self-education, knowledge, great for the fitness world. There's something big coming. The unfortunate side of this energy is that, even Mars going into Aries, we feel it, right? I always hear like the squirrels and the birds outside fighting when there's placements in Aries. I always notice that people get a little bit more agitated, out in the stores or, in traffic. People can be a little bit more confrontational because Mars is the warrior. And when planets like this cross 0 degrees of a cardinal sign, it's like the lights turn on, So we're going to feel more Martian energies. It can be indications that there's going to be global conflict, that there can be some threat of something war-like. I don't know. We will see. I'm hoping that that's not the case, but history does kind of serve showing us that when there are Mars conjunctions or squares, that's when we have a tendency to see these Martian energies kind of get inflamed. Now, it's starting a new cycle, okay? So Mars has now entered Aries. We see Mars change signs, every several weeks, but it takes about 2 years for Mars to go through all of the signs. So if you're in Aries, Sun, Moon, or Rising, if you are an Aries North Node, if you are a Mars in Aries, pay attention. You're getting ready to have some particular, shifts happening. Those of you guys who are in Aries rising or Scorpio rising, because Mars is your chart ruler, you're going to be like, yes, I'm feeling this energy. You're going to get very revved up. You might be feeling more sexual. You might be feeling more passionate. So Mars is coming in and it's basically saying, all right, it's time to get to work. So wherever Mars and Jupiter are in your chart right now of Aries, there are big things that you're going to be starting. It's really important that you get the show on the road the next couple of weeks, that you show up for this, because it's going to allow you to initiate something that might bring you more personal growth, happiness, abundance. Like Jupiter can be wealth, right? And there's also this sense of like kind of having a little bit of swagger, being like, I've got this, I'm doing this. So look for where that is in your chart. Then on the 25th, we are going to see Mercury come back into a trine with Pluto and Capricorn. So Mercury is still retrograde, it's in Taurus, it's trining Pluto. Look back into your calendars with what was going on April 27th and 28th. Okay, so if you reflect on that, something was happening during that time. This is the second trine, and we're going to see one more trine that's going to be taking place, and that is going to be happening from June the 10th through the 12th. Then we lose the trine. So when we have retrogrades, aspects are usually made 2 or 3 times because of its retrograde motion. So the fact that it's retrograde trine Pluto is, where do we go back to important conversations? Where do we go back to important kind of structuring when it comes to our power, our resources, our money, like tax stuff? I'm anticipating there's going to be some like tax laws that are coming out, or some documents or things that are coming out about leaks, right? Stuff that's hidden. Pluto is secretive. So pay attention. It's going to give you the opportunity to kind of really turn inward and have some really intense communication that is going to be enlightening, and it's going to give us this information that we need to kind of better make decisions before Mercury goes direct and then move forward. Now on the 26th, we're then going to see that Venus in Aries comes into a square with Pluto and Capricorn. Wah, wah. So if you are a Venus ruled chart, if you are a Scorpio rising, so it's going to be like Taurus, Libra, and Scorpio, those rising signs are going to feel this the most. Now Venus is in Aries, obviously, so it's in a Mars related sign. She's getting a little more confrontational, a little edgy. She's going to conjunct Aries also, so we're going to see some kind of real intense like Kali energy. Angry mamas, angry women, unfortunately, especially with the square to Pluto. It's reminiscent of when we had the Saturn, Pluto, Uranus stuff that was going on 2017, 2018. But when Venus, the goddess of love, comes into a square with Pluto, which is about power, it's like, are you going to take the poison apple? Right? There can be some sense of manipulation, temptation. There can be issues with greed or materialism or overdoing it or becoming obsessive or possessive or even jealous. I've heard a lot of Capricorn risings that have been reaching out to me being like, what is going on? Why am I snapping at people? I've heard a lot of Libra risings telling me like, that's it. I can't continue these patterns with my home and my family and my relationships. Cardinal signs, really pay attention as well. The late degrees of the cardinal signs, you're going to be feeling this. It's quick. Okay, and what's interesting is these signs initiate things. Aries says, let's go. We need to do this right now. Capricorn says, what's the long-term goal? What are we working through? What's interesting is right after this square, then on the 27th and the 28th, we see these planets move signs, right? We're going to see that Venus is then going to move into Taurus, right? Then we're going to see, and that'll be on the 28th. And Mars is already in Aries. So thankfully, when we have Venus move into Taurus, it's like the birds are going to be chirping. Everything's going to be nice. Everything's going to be calmer. It's going to be like more like romantic. We're going to see things stabilize in Taurus. It becomes very grounded. So for Venus ruled people, that's going to be nice. And then Mars goes into Aries. So it's interesting because instead of it being kind of conflicting, I feel like Mars being in Aries has been very masculine. Venus being in Aries has been very masculine masculine and kind of angry and aggressive. As soon as it goes into Taurus, like, you know, the divine feminine can do its thing. It can ground out, it can get a little bit calmer, and it can get a little bit more comfortable. And Mars goes into Aries, and it becomes this very yin yang, where it's like, I'm not saying men and women, I'm going to use the term feminine and masculine, can do what they do best, right? Yin energy is about receiving. Feminine energy is about receiving, right? So it's about staying open, loving, receiving, nurturing, kind of like opening your arms. And Mars energy, or more masculine energy, is going to be like very linear, very direct. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working on, right? It's literally going to chase. It's going to get really passionate or really zealous about something. And it's going to possibly kind of like chase Venus in a way. Not in terms of direction, but you get what I'm saying. So I think that things, in a sense, are going to be like, okay, everybody's kind of aware of their role. Just do what you're here to do. And then everybody can work together in unison and in harmony, which is lovely because we have the North and the South node in Taurus and in Scorpio. So I'm loving this transit. I think it's going to be a little bit of extra oomph in what has been a rather tumultuous and very highly emotional time for a lot of people. The last 2 weeks, I don't think I have seen so much chaos in some of my clients' lives as I have the last 2 weeks. And guys, it's still shaking out, okay? Until the retrograde is over, it's still shaking out really until we get out of the squares that are gonna be happening in August, and then there's more coming in November. So be gentle with yourselves, take it easy. Everybody's getting it from all different angles. You want more on that transit, check out the video. On the 27th, we have got the moon in Taurus. So this is like the only day that it's not kind of like, you know, Mars is getting really close to Jupiter though, so I think you guys are going to feel this. But the moon moves into Taurus. I'm liking it. Later in the day, Venus is going to change signs. It's going to go into Taurus, closer to the 28th actually. We do see some stuff happening though. Whenever we have planets that are hanging around 29, you know, or the late degrees, it's quite intense. You got Pluto at 28, Venus at 29. The moon will cross through Taurus the next day. We've got Mercury that's in the late degrees. Like, there's big stuff going on globally in the world. That's what I'm anticipating is going to be happening over the next like week or two. But this is a day where, with the moon in Taurus, I'm liking it. I feel like it's like a little small slice of heaven before the moon the next day conjuncts Uranus, squares Saturn. We're in the dark of the moon, so we want to get really quiet when we're in that period. And then on the 28th, which is going to be this next Saturday, Venus enters Taurus. Interesting that Venus enters Taurus, right? And we've got Mars also that's coming into conjunction with Jupiter. The moon's going to touch Uranus. It's going to square Saturn. It's going to conjunct Mercury in the North Node. I think in so many ways, and this is even going a little bit deeper into next week, so we may touch on this, but I really want to keep next week all about the month of June. Something will happen, right before the new moon, because we've got Mercury that is getting ready to station, and it's still conjunct the North Node. We've got Mars conjunct Jupiter, and that's going to sextile the new moon in Gemini. And we've got Mercury that's trine Pluto. I mean, like, oh my God. Something's going to happen with that lunar transit. Let me give you guys the time roundabout. I'm on Pacific time, by the way, so you guys might want to adjust your time zones accordingly. But I'm very curious about when the moon is exalted in Taurus and conjunct the North Node. So this looks like the evening of the 28th. And as the moon conjuncts the North Node, I want everybody to sit and really ask yourself, do I feel comfortable in what's going on in my reality right now? Right? Do I like this? Am I experiencing pleasure? Do I feel grounded? Do I feel solid? It's making a nice sextile to Neptune, but unfortunately, it's still highlighting that square to Saturn. And the moon Mercury in Taurus, where Saturn is, where are my, physical manifestational things, my third dimension? Where is this not like lining up with my goals, right? And am I more focused on what I have? Do I care about what other people are lacking? Like, it's nice that I have my home and my car and all my things, but what about other people? And like, do I feel good knowing that I have everything that I need while I'm watching certain individuals suffer? I think that's going to be a theme that's coming up a lot for a lot of people. It's something that I'm feeling is a fixed sign. I kind of keep looking at things going like, how does that make me feel, and how can I give back, and how does that actually in turn make me feel more stable and valuable, right? About what I can bring to other people. And so hopefully you guys are having some of the same experiences. If you can consider yourself in this moment in time blessed, right? Comfortable, healthy, secure, stable. What can you give to other people, right? And not just physically, but time, assistance, friendship, a phone call, extra food that's in your pantry. These are things that will go a long way for people who really need it right now. So as the moon comes into conjunction with the North Node, that's nice because it is the moon's node. So we need to pay attention to kind of what's shaping up, and Mercury is there as well. This is all behind the sun. So it's coming into the new moon. So it's what am I releasing and letting go of, right? And in the dark part of the moon, it's a really great time to banish and clear things out, right? So we want to release things. This is when we do cord cutting, banishing work, healing that requires us to kind of work with the darker side of the moon. It can be things in our subconscious. This can also be about collective fears about food and resources. And it's like triggering something where there's going to be a lot of activity right before it comes into conjunction with the sun. P.S. Okay, these are the same degrees that we had this Taurus eclipse in last fall. These are the same opposition degrees that we just had the Scorpio eclipse in, right? So it's opposing that. So the fact that like the moon's going through there, it's reactivating that. The fact that Mercury is going retrograde back and forth over there, it keeps bringing up this theme. And what is that particular degree, the 26, 27? It's algol. People losing their head, losing their mind. Mental health is a really big topic right now, and not because we're in Gemini season, more so because we have all of these retrogrades and these degrees that are aspecting this. It's a really difficult time for a lot of people. A lot of people are feeling like mentally and emotionally they're being pushed to the brink. I have heard handfuls and handfuls of people who have been talking to me about some stuff that's going on in their personal life, about the fact that they don't know how much longer they can hold on, people who are struggling with like suicidal thoughts, and people who are also experiencing grief and loss because they're losing people in their lives to suicide. This is a really significant thing. And I think that with the trines to Pluto and Mercury retrograde, there can be this sense of people going like, I feel like I have no power. But in this moment, it's also this opportunity to be able to find your power, find your beliefs, find your grounding, right? So if you can lend a helping hand, you know, listen to somebody, talk to somebody. If you're experiencing some of these issues, if that's something that's going on for you, it's really important that you're reaching out and you're asking for help. I'm anticipating a lot of people are going to be like melting down right in the dark part of this moon. Then that is going to lead us to the new moon in Gemini, which is actually going to be taking place on the 30th. So a lot of you guys are like, this is what I was here for. I want to know about this. So let's talk about it. And as always, I'm going to pull cards. I'm going to talk to you about how it's affecting each and every one of the 12 signs. So that way you guys know what's coming. So it's going to be happening at 9 degrees of Gemini and change. Okay, so the actual new moon is going to be coming in right around 7:30 a.m. Pacific time. Excuse me, 4:30 a.m. Pacific time, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. So let's look at this. Let me pull this up. That's what my software on my laptop said. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of different here. Yeah, it's going to be around 4:30 though. So it's going to be 4:30 a.m. Pacific time, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. It's at 9 degrees of Gemini. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about this. We're also going to read the Sabian symbol. And like I said, I will talk to you about how it is affecting all of the 12 signs. Gemini is a mutable air sign. Okay. So Gemini, once we move out of the Taurus mansion and we move into this very first mutable air sign, it's buzzing. We want to walk around, we want to make phone calls, we want to text, we want to email. It is within the first 10 degrees, so this is going to be very personal. So it's like, what am I thinking? What do I have to say? Where am I going? And I think a lot of people are going to experience it in that particular fashion. It is also the same area of life where Mercury has been retrograding. I think Mercury actually turned around somewhere around like 4, 5, 6 degrees. So it didn't quite hit this, but it retrograded, which is really trying to get us to rethink this area of our life. And I find it interesting, like I said, that we've had to backtrack and go back into Taurus, which is what are we restructuring, right? What are we building? So that way we can actually not just talk about it, we can be about it. So it's really helping us add a little bit more structure and solid, ground from underneath us, so we can actually start making some of these things change, because Mercury, Gemini energy, it's very changeable. So likely this is in preparation, to rethink what we value so we can better express it, because Gemini is about expressing it, getting that information out. Now, like I said, Mercury's retrograde back in Taurus, helping us plan, making trines to Pluto, helping us dig deep, investigate, reflect, change, and empower our thoughts, our business, and our mind. Now, Mercury is activating both of these eclipse points, like I said, both from fall of 2021 and just recently this one that we had in Scorpio. It's also forming another square to Saturn. You guys remember that in the retrograde, it happened actually before, when it got in the shadow, it squared Saturn in Aquarius, which represents speed bumps, delays, negative thoughts, kind of being like, no, not yet. Saturn is really holding strong this year. Well, there's so many aspects we see to Saturn, all the conjunctions, the Saturn square the nodes, the eclipses square Saturn. Saturn is screaming, elevate. Think about the future. Think about where you're going. What is your spiritual purpose? What's your real goal out there? Who do you need to align with? What about others? Saturn's in a lot of conflict with the me, mine, Taurus energy, right? So it's people are starting to think more about, like, what am I building because of what's going on out in the world, right? Mercury being in that square to Saturn, I think really is about delaying but never denying, right? Saturn doesn't want to deny unless it's really not in alignment for you, right? So if you get a hard no on something, this week, last week, next week, in the midst of this retrograde cycle, if you get a hard no, like, no, you didn't get the job, no, this isn't going to work out, no, you're not getting the loan, no, I'm not interested, no, I'm done, let it go, because it's going to keep coming back up, because it's not vibrationally supposed to be in your field. I know that sounds weird, but Aquarius is vibration, but it's elevation. So it keeps reinforcing the fact that, no, we got to do better, we got to go higher. But at the same time, Saturn and Aquarius is like this social separation, social isolation, right? And our inability to connect. And so it's making a lot of us feel like a little isolated still and a little vulnerable. I've said for a very long time, and like maybe I'm going to get crucified for this. I really don't care. I keep telling people the plot twist is still coming. If you guys think that everything's done and the world is opening back up again, we're going to go back to normal, we're not going to have a sense of limitation, or that there aren't going to be more social distancing, social issues, government involvement with telling us where we can and cannot go, or whether or not we can and cannot gather. If you think that there isn't going to be another crisis that's coming up and that there isn't going to be another virus, you're crazy. Saturn is screaming that something is already brewing. We're about to find out what it is. So, just check your news sources. If it's something that you really can't listen to, if you don't want to tune into that, if that's not the reality that you're creating, I'm not trying to be a fearmonger, turn off the news. Don't listen to the news, because the news is going to be what's kind of fueling a lot of this, right? Like the mainstream media. Go and look for independent media. Go and hear what's going on in other places. Expand your mind. I can only speak about this as an American, but a lot of Americans have no fucking idea what's going on in the rest of the world. They have no idea. They have no idea what's going on in Asia. They have no idea what's going on in South America. They have no idea what's been happening in Australia. They have no idea. There's no idea. And Saturn in Aquarius is also about science, right? It's not information, it's science. It's stuff that has been tested, that has been denied. So there's lots of things going on, lots of studies, lots of doctors, lots of people who are releasing their findings that's being held back. And Taurus is about the physical body. Taurus is about our food. Taurus is about our thyroid, our fertility, our voice, right? What we eat. So there's lots of stuff that's being kind of not released in terms of some of that stuff. And I think Uranus and Taurus is just changes and stuff in regards to our bodies, things we've put in our bodies, artificial foods, vaccinations, all kinds of stuff, and how now we're responding to it. So I think that on some levels of the internet, you hear people going like, it's ascension symptoms. And then you've got other people being like, it's the stuff we've been eating and the fact that we're not eating well. We don't know where our food is coming from, and that there's stuff that's processed and infused and grown, and we're putting things in our body medically that we don't know what it is. So of course, we're going to start to see actual shifts and changes that are going to be happening. I think the truth is somewhere in between. I think that we're, spiritual beings having a physical experience. We're in a body. So that in itself is a little strange. But when we're trying to ascend and we're trying to kind of raise our vibration, and we're eating things or doing things or putting things in our body that's lowering that, we're going to have this whiplash effect, right? That's going to happen. But like I said, Saturn says elevate, think about the future, work together. Mercury sextile Neptune in Pisces, asking how do you feel, right? Is there a need to rework your values to better align with your beliefs? And are you connecting to spirit? Do you believe that things can play out differently? Do you believe there's a different plan? And where can you add a little bit of faith? Now, here's the cool stuff. I have a secret for you guys. Okay, very Kazemi. Maybe this is your Kazemi moment. I don't know. Let me know. From September of 2022 through January of 2023, Mars will go retrograde in Gemini. And I've talked about this a lot. I've been talking about this since the eclipses that were happening at the end of 2020. I kept saying this is going to play out clear till 2022. And people were like, why are you looking so far into the future? What is that? Why? Because I knew that there was going to be some significant correlation because of the repetition of the degrees. So hear me out on this. Because Mars will retrograde in Gemini, it will activate this particular new moon, right? It's actually tied to an eclipse that we had. It's going to be tied to the Mars retrograde. And like true Gemini fashion, we're seeing multiples, right? It happens to be threefold, not twofold. So you got an extra one there. More like triplets. Can you imagine 3 Geminis? Ah! Ah! But this is ensuring, this Mars retrograde that's going to take place this fall, is ensuring that you fulfill this new moon intention, this new moon desire, what you speak into existence, the goals that you're writing down, the mantras that you're reciting, right? If you keep a manifestational journal, oh my gosh, this is the time to get one. If you do not have one, start one, get a notebook. You don't need a fancy one. Just write down your goals every day, the same 3 goals. It's really simple. When you complete one, add another one to the list. Just keep doing that. It will also continue because of the sextile to Jupiter, which will retrograde back into Pisces. It'll go into Aries, but still, this will sextile. So we're going to see Jupiter hanging out in the late degrees of Pisces, early degrees of Aries, is still going to sextile these same degrees from this particular new moon. Well, it happens to be at 9 degrees. It's also very close to a lunar eclipse that we had in Gemini, November 30th, 2020. Okay. So think back to that because we had an eclipse that took place then, a lunar eclipse that was in Gemini. I believe it was at 8, almost 9 degrees. It's within 1.5 degrees, so it's conjunct that. So that lunar eclipse brought up some kind of big moment, big conversation. And then here we have a new moon that's coming into that same degree space. I'm going to read you guys the Sabian symbol. Maybe you remember it. I remember it. I opened it up and I was like, I remember exactly what was happening on this day, November 30th, 2020. And it's going to help you kind of upgrade that intention, upgrade that conversation. It's like, okay, this is Act 2. Now here's where we're going from here. And it's positive because it's in a sextile to Jupiter. Now, it's also going to get reactivated, like I said, because of the retrograde, because we're going to see that Mars will enter into Gemini somewhere around, I believe it's like the beginning of September, it will conjunct these degrees. So what many of you guys may realize in September when this happens is that then you start actually seeing this come into play. You start seeing the action, you start seeing the motivation, you start seeing the opportunity to take the jump and to actually start something. So maybe you've been talking about it, manifesting it. September's going to come and you're going to be like, I'm doing it. We're doing it right now. Here we go. Mars will go further into Gemini. It will retrograde back and it's going to station conjunct 8 or 9 degrees Gemini. So when it retrogrades all the way back, because Mars is going to be in Gemini for like, oh my God, September through like February. It's a long time. It's a lot of shit talking. But it's really putting words into action, right? If you say you're going to do something, don't just, talk about it, be about it. That's what this is going to be about. So it's going to reiterate, okay, we're coming back to this. Now's the time, now's go time. And even if you don't do it, once Mars retrogrades all the way back to that degree and it stations around 8 or 9 degrees, it's going to bring it up again in February. So it might manifest as being like, I talked about it, set the intention, okay, and then September, here we go. And if you haven't still done it in September, it's going to come back all the way up in the new year and it's going to be like, okay, these conversations are going to keep coming up. These phone calls, these emails, people are going to keep reaching out to you. There's still going to be this action, Mars and motivation, revolving around talking about something, agreeing to something, signing something, moving. I think a lot of people are going to be moving. I think this is going to cause a huge shift because it's going to basically tell a lot of people, you know what, we need a plan B. You know, if this doesn't work, we got to go here. If I don't get this car, I'm getting that car. If I can't get this, you know, a particular part, you know, I need to get another part. Like, people are going to realize that there's two paths, right? Just thinking like, oh my God, the twin flame community is going to be like, ah, I mean, all you're going to hear is twin flame stuff all fall into the new year. So I apologize. I'm not one of those people, but you're going to hear a lot about the divine masculine and he's coming back to you, right? That's all you're going to hear. So I'm sure a lot of Venus in Gemini and a lot of like Sun, Moon, Venus people are going to be like, my twin flame's coming back. But guys, it's going to square Neptune. So it's like a complete fucking shit show. So just trust me on this, all right? Use this new moon with the sextile to Jupiter to get revved up and be like, you know what? I'm going to do this and it's going to be fine. And just keep telling yourself, this is where things are going. Thank you, universe, for giving me this. Get your manifestational journal out. Sit down, okay? It's very simple. Spend 15 minutes a day. Meditate on just receiving, you know, some kind of contact with your higher self. Write down every single day 3 of your goals. Keep doing it. You will find that if you are doing this literally right now, from this moment, from this new moon, all the way until September, it's going to start happening. And you're going to start seeing that things are going to pick up and you're going to start seeing where it's actually coming into action. Okay? I'm excited. I'm so excited for this because I'm just like, oh, thank God. Finally, we're going to see something moving forward, you know? Here's my handy dandy Sapien symbol book. If you would like to get it, check out my Amazon link below. I always post all of my books that I'm reading. This is going to be page 101. We're going to read Gemini 10 because it's 9 degrees and change. So we round up so that way we can get something whole. You can look at Gemini 9 too. I'll give it to you in the spirit of doubles. Gemini 9, a quiver filled with arrows. The keyword is preparation, survival. The symbol speaks to the sensitivity to personal opportunity, initiative, and individual's ability to know what he wants in order to go after it. The image of a quiver filled with arrows refers to tools and skills needed for hunting, and it alludes to the self-discipline, training, and ambition required to accomplish objectives. Implicit in this degree is an emphasis on the right every person has to what they need in order to survive and make his contribution to society in which he lives. At its highest, it represents readiness, high competency in meeting the challenges of life. Watch for criticism and fault finding. Your greatest advantage lies in being properly prepared before you set out to accomplish your objective. Preparedness. Gemini kind of wings it. I love you guys, but you're like, I don't know how to do that, but we're going to give it a try. So I think Mars is like that retrograde, right? And also the new moon, and then Mercury's going to cross that. It's like, you got to get prepared because something's coming. And it's more about talking about preparedness, right? What if this happens? What are we going to do? You know, where would we move if they pass this law in this particular state or country? You know, where would we move if we can't buy a house in this city? What do we do if it doesn't work out, right? So I can think that it's really important to be prepared and communicating about what ifs, not to drive fear, but to be like, okay, look, if shit hits the fan, we got to know what to do. You know, where are we going? Keep thinking about that. Look at where Jupiter is in your chart. Aries is kind of initiating what you're learning. And then where Gemini in your chart is where you're learning something new, learning how to communicate and taking action. All right. Gemini 10, you guys probably remember this. When I opened this one, I was like, I rolled my eyes. I was like, I remember this and I remember how it played out. Gemini 10, an airplane falling. Keyword is crisis, free fall. The symbol speaks to diving into experience without hesitation and any thought of failure, with the attitude of whatever difficulties or problems are encountered can be successfully resolved if and when they arise. The image of an airplane falling is another of the reverse symbols where it illustrates the concept unclutch and let go. What can't be comprehended from one point of view can be understood from another. On a practical level, the symbol suggests relaxing, going with the flow, being able to risk or take a chance. It also alludes to the fact that over-control or fear can limit your opportunity. At its highest, the symbol represents learning and learning through doing an intuitive knack for handling crises completely. Watch for helplessness, lack of direction, lack of self-direction, and a defeatist attitude or the refusal to get involved with anything that requires effort or risk. That's awesome. I mean, I love that it's really also highlighting, I think, the Jupiter Mars. That's like, we're just going to do this. Let's go. You know, let's just do it now. Let's see what happens. And I think that it's really adding into all this Gemini energy that's like, we're talking about it, but oh my goodness, when Mars shows up, it's like, oh, it happened, we're doing it, and here we go, we're doing this. So I think a lot of people are going to realize that there is no big reward without big risk, right? And even if you're not taking that risk yet, I want you guys to start talking about it. I want you guys to get excited about things changing. I want you to get excited about a plan B, because the universe is always going to reroute you if shit falls apart, whatever, but just know that it's going to be an adventure with all these planets in Aries and Gemini. It's going to be like, and we're doing this, we're going to wing it, we're going to figure it out. Because I think the free fall effect for many people is this feeling of not being attached to a particular outcome, which can be really difficult. Geminis are really good at teaching us that. It's about being like, just go with the flow. Whatever happens, happens. Maybe we'll have some fun. Maybe we'll get in trouble. Maybe we'll get arrested. Not encouraging that. But I think that with Mars going into Gemini, it's going to show that there is a need to be courageous and also have like a lot of conviction with our words. And so I think that right now it's like talking about it and like really getting amped up about where we are going and what we are learning in the process, how we're learning how to communicate better, and where through our own individual expansion with Jupiter and Aries, it's allowing us to go deeper and have more insightful conversations and kind of socialize better with other people and spread information that needs to get out, you know? Okay, let's get into talking about where this is going to take place for each and every one of the 12 signs. As always, I am a Western tropical astrologer. This is going to be whole sign predictions for every one of the 12 signs. Please listen for your ascendant, as this is going to tell you what area of your life this is taking place. You can listen to your sun. It may very much resonate, especially with your own personal goals, your career, you know, ego stuff. And then your moon might relate to you emotionally, okay? This is going to be a new moon that is going to be beneficial, right, for all of the air signs. Because it will form air trines, which represents travel, communication, intellect, ideas. It is also very supporting to all of the fire signs, because you guys will receive some kind of aspect, whether it's going to be an opposition or a sextile. And those who are going to be affected the most by this particular new moon, like I said, is if you have any planets anywhere around, let's say, 8 to about 10 degrees of Gemini, sun, moon, or rising. If this is your birthday, happy birthday. It's a new moon birthday. It's a big deal. Awesome time to get a reading. And it is going to affect in squares most intensely the mutable signs, right? From about 8 to 10 degrees. So that would be the Virgos, the Sagittarius, the Pisces. You guys are going to be feeling this square. Let me know in the comments below where this is affecting you and how you're feeling it. I'm going to give you guys an idea of physically where this is taking place in your horoscope. You want to use this to set intentions. Obviously, new moons are always new cycles. And like I said, this one's pretty powerful. So we really want to work with it because I'm kind of digging the energy that we have. All right, so I'm going to be working with the Lucid Dreams Beginner's deck. I love this deck. It's got a lot of words on it. Right? It's a beginner's deck because it's going to tell you specifically what the cards mean. So if you're somebody who's just getting into like learning tarot, it's a great deck to use. I'm not associated with this. It's just a deck that I like. Try to pull out different decks for you guys, and depending on what's going on energetically, you know, cards that might resonate with the cosmos. All right, so we're going to start with Aries and Aries rising. Aries, this is a new moon taking place in your 3rd house, okay? Take into consideration, the sun is there, the moon is there, so you're setting new intentions about 3rd house things. But Mercury is going retrograde in your 2nd. So it tells me that this is like money talk, like reevaluating your budget, restructuring your budget, what you're doing with money and resources. There can be opportunities that you're setting forth for travel, for vehicles, for contracts, for learning something new, whether it's a language or, you know, maybe getting a new gadget. I would say those of you guys who are Aries risings, be mindful that even though you're like, I need a new computer, I need a new laptop, like just wait a little bit, right? Really wait, adjust, look at your budget, look for a really good deal. Maybe wait until we get out of the shadow early next month before you make a purchase. Whether you're buying a car, buying a plane ticket, buying an iPod, whatever, just wait a little bit, okay? The card that I get for you is the 6 of Swords. Interesting, 3rd house, that's one thing I didn't think of. It's about movement, moving. And this is saying there might be movement happening and you're having to kind of like go, oh my God, you know, the U-Haul fell through. I gotta, you know, find somebody else who can move my stuff, or I have to move my move date. Or feeling like you're in limbo in some sense. That's the Six of Swords, kind of like being in between, being like, okay, I know I'm not going to stay here long, but I need something for the in-between. I need a short-term rental. Maybe I'm buying a house just to stay here for a short period of time, and I know that it's going to be transitionary. Maybe you're readjusting your budget, and you're looking at your budget before you make a move, and there's lots of conversations revolving around that. There can also be lots of back and forth with siblings, or people who are, you know, calling you saying, hey, can I borrow some money? That kind of stuff. Be careful, watch out for that. That can get a little sticky with Mercury in your second. But the Six of Swords is like going on to bigger, better things, right? So even though you kind of feel like you're in limbo a little bit right now, the things that are shaking out are really positive for you. And it makes me feel like you're going to some place that's going to be more serene, not as like mentally or emotionally kind of taxing, right? For Taurus and Taurus rising, this is a new moon taking place in your second house. Taurus, your favorite topic, money. Resources, stability, self-esteem, values. It could possibly be bringing you a new stream of income, Taurus. It kind of makes me feel like there's a sense of you going back and forth being like, do I start this? Do I take the bait? Do I have the time? Am I negotiating a deal? Going through a contract? A lot of Taurus risings especially feel a little tighter on money right now. There is a sense of like maybe having a financial loss or like having to give something up. Mercury is retrograding from your second, obviously, back into your first. So it's a lot of like restructuring what your values are and figuring out your self-esteem. If you're a little stressed on money, don't worry. This is definitely the new moon you want to work with to set new abundance goals. Write it out, Taurus. Speak it into an existence. Be open to a separate stream of income. This is the one that is going to set the stage all year for some of your financial stuff to be coming full circle later at the end of 2022. So work with the element of air, right? Speak bells, right? Incense, saging, smudging, you know, invoking certain planets that are going to help you bring more money in. If something was lost, perhaps it will be returned. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting looking at this placement. And it could not, this could not have pulled a better card. Ace of Coins. It's coming back to you, Taurus. Did you lose something valuable, right? Did you lose something? Did you lose a piece of jewelry? Did you not get a refund on something? Is it coming back to you cosmically in a different way? It looks like it is. This is the card of money and resources. This is the card of planting seeds. And so it's about you kind of looking at things going like, this is what I value. This is what I'm putting my energy into. This is what I believe in. And it's talking about it, sharing of information when it comes to specifically physically what's important to you, what you want to hold on to. When this card comes up, I'll just read it to you specifically. A new material offer, a new job, a promotion, a new opportunity, new manifestation, resources, prosperity, baby. You know what? Awesome. Really easy way to do this. Any herbs that are going to be associated with money, you can burn. So like patchouli incense can be great. So can cedar. You can be, I would say, doing invocations, specifically working with either Venus or Mercury to help bring things back to you. So even if you had a loss recently, don't worry. It's going to come back to you in another way. It's going to make you stronger. Gemini, what is up, Gemini? I hope you are well. This is your new moon in the first house, new moon, new you. But it's interesting because you're rethinking something. There's a sense of you rethinking something. You're probably like, do I want to cut my bangs? Am I going to make that big change? You know, am I going to present myself differently? Am I going to change my name? That kind of stuff. You know, a new moon in the first house is setting the stage for your physical appearance, your body, and just your own personal goals. This is your new moon, so you only get these once a year. The fact that it's happening while your chart lord Mercury is dipping back into your 12th house, point blank, I put in big letters, rethinking something, finding the faith. That's what's happening. You're finding the faith. There is a need to rethink the way that you present yourself to the world, who you are, what you value, and you can be a little anxious, right? With Mercury dropping back down into your 12th house, it's like, what do I have? Who am I? Do I have anything? Am I secure? Am I safe? Like, you know, there's some kind of funky energies that are playing out with the eclipses in your 12th and your 6th. It can definitely be a test of your faith, but I feel like there can be a conversation, a meeting, a reading, a dream, something that helps you kind of find the faith and feel a little bit more stable. Some of you guys are holding back on having conversations. You have information, you don't know if it's the time to share it yet, right? Maybe wait till Mercury stations. And when Mercury is stationing in early June and it's trining Pluto, it's a very powerful time for you to come out with something and have something to say. And by then, you've worked through your fears. Now, the truth is that I believe this is about walking away from something. Eight of Cups is saying releasing, letting go, moving on to greener pastures, being in a situation where you know that you have to release something. So it's releasing fears or anxieties or emotional blocks that you have around security, about your worthiness, about how you should look, how you should feel, what you think, right? This card says moving on. Unfulfilled current situations, abandonment, walking away from the unknown, searching for truth, leaving or letting go. Kind of makes sense. You know, Mercury's in your 12th house. That's about conclusions, wrapping things up. But it's about old, outdated things that do not serve you. Find the faith, embrace that. Really great time to get a reading or do any kind of hypnotherapy or past life regression, just to help clear some of that gunk out, you know? Cancer rising. You're having a new moon in your 12th house. This is the cosmic clear out, Cancer. It can feel a little crisis oriented right now. I feel for you. Part of this is because it's right before your birthday. So some of you guys are going to be having your birthday at the end of the month. Some of you guys are going to have it in July. But one thing I want you to know is when you get to this point in time, when a lot of planets are 12 houses to your sun, there is a clearing that's happening. There is a new moon in your 12th, which is bringing up themes of like healing, resting, calming anxiety, and really like not getting in your head, okay? So I think that when it dips back into, when Mercury, is dipping back into your 11th, maybe it's like a friend comes back, you've been anxious about a situation with a friendship, you're like, oh my goodness, where have you been, what's going on? Maybe you're reflecting on your goals. But I think having had this retrograde primarily taking place in your 12th house and a new moon there, some of you guys are feeling super, super out of your mind. You're ruled by the moon, right? So the moon comes in waves, it brings moods. A lot of you guys need to rest and retreat. You need renewal, you need to reflect, you need to be alone. There is some sense of you kind of feeling a little bit out of it. And if you get pushed, I think you could get really stressed out. So this is about setting new intentions about either mental health stuff or anxiety, breath work, anything like that can be really helpful for kind of clearing that out and not keeping all that tension in your lungs, right? All right. The card that you get is the Devil, Cancer. Are you trying to let go of a bad habit? That's what makes me wonder, you know? Are you trying to let go of a bad habit? I have a feeling that's probably what's happening. Right? I also think that it can be about negative thought patterns. I think it can be about issues with honesty. Are you being dishonest? Are you being dishonest with yourself? Are you lying to yourself? Where do you feel stuck and fixated on something and you can't really let go, right? This is also squaring Saturn, and Saturn's in your 8th house. So I feel like with this Mercury retrograde square, it's like, you know, having to let go of certain friendships, having to let go of certain obsessions and fixations, no longer allowing that to be something that's going to cloud you energetically. This is telling me that you're feeling like you have trouble breaking free, or you're feeling trapped or constrained in some way. And it can be with like an addiction or like a bad habit that you're trying to release and let go. So I think actually with the new moon in the 12th, it's like, do you need some healing work? Do you need some therapy? Do you need to get some treatment? Do you need to detox? Do you need to talk to somebody about the fact that you're struggling with this and you don't know how to break free? Okay. Sending you lots of healing vibes, Cancer. Leo, you got a new moon happening I almost said Aries, happening in Gemini. Aries. It's happening in Gemini, and this is taking place in your natal 11th house. How fun, quite active, social, lots going on there, lots of buzzing going on with like being around people that are gonna make you aware of your goals. It's gonna give you the opportunity to join new networks and associations or fellowships. If you're looking to make new friends, if you're looking to spend more time with your friends, this is a wonderful time for you. Now, I think with the air fire energy, it's wonderful because it's making sextiles to your ascendant. So I think you're becoming aware of your goals. It's fueling who you're becoming. Maybe you're talking to your friends more. You're realizing, I don't need the relationship drama. I don't need that bullshit. I need to be focused on having really good friends around me. And maybe you're just setting intentions of just like calling your friends more, communicating with them more, traveling with them more. There's something revolving around that. Now, Mercury is going retrograde, you know, from your 11th house into your 10th. And so this plays into this as well, because it's kind of saying like, it's about career goals, and it's about feeling empowered by some of your friends and your networks that are helping you kind of level up in your life, whether that's doing more in your career or just feeling that you're surrounding yourself with people who are like actually getting work done, and just feeling like you need to kind of diversify some of your friendships right now. That's the feeling that I'm getting. Card that I get is the Seven of Wands, standing your ground. You know, you may not be at work to make friends. Maybe you're making friends through networking, but there's definitely this feeling of like, okay, there's work and then there's friendships. Saturn in your 7th as well, square Mercury. So I think there's this realization that also when it comes to your social networks, it's like, you know, being a little standoffish, being careful, like not letting people impose. Like some of you guys might be needing to make adjustments to your social media or other things because of jobs and other things that you're doing. Maybe you're needing to make tweaks so people don't see you partying on the weekends, hanging out on a boat in Miami, that kind of stuff, because you're trying to get into a new network. This is, like I said though, this is a positive card. Standing your ground comes up a lot. Really being able to kind of rise to the occasion, like, you know, beating somebody in something, or coming out on top. What does the card say? Defending your position, challenge, perseverance, protectiveness, and anything that deals with protecting your territory. So if you're feeling like there is some sense of people who are challenging you at work, if you're feeling like a friend is challenging you in some capacity, it's you being like, whoa, back up, you know, stand back, like I'm not doing this. Not in an aggressive way, but standing your ground. It's a fire element. So keep that in mind, even if that means that you need to have a little friction with some people. It's very competitive as well. So I'm wondering, like, is there some, you know, competitive sense of needing to place in something? Are you feeling like there's like some competitiveness with a friend? Do you kind of look at somebody and go like, no, I'm not going there with you, and just walking away? You know, just think about that, because you're going to come out on top regardless. Watch out for the friction. People are definitely creating some friction with you, Leo, with these fixed squares. Hang in there. Virgo and Virgo rising, how's it going? You got a new moon in your 10th house of career, so it's a wonderful time to be like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Some of my most like favorite people are like 45 and they still don't know, so don't take that personally. This is about new career opportunities. However, Mercury's going retrograde. It's a doozy, right? You're very mercurial. It rules your chart. It also rules your 10th house. You're going back and forth with being like, am I taking the job? Am I not? Are they calling me back? Did somebody fall through? You know, are they calling me for a second interview? Am I going back to an old job? Does somebody call me and say, come back, I need you? Something like that is happening. And I would say, like, really wait for things to shake out. Many of you guys are trying to juggle more than you can. And with Gemini in your 10th house, you can do 2 positions, 2 jobs. You can wear many hats. But some of you guys are kind of juggling a side thing. And you're like, how the hell am I going to have time to do everything? Be very careful with what you go back to. Be very careful with communications and contracts at work. But for the most part, this new moon, really what it's trying to do is it's trying to say, we're going to give you an opportunity to really set the stage for what you believe you can achieve. For really getting into alignment with something that you're here to do, that you're meant to do, something that you really love. And it's also about giving you some authority out in the world. So it's like, maybe you get a different title. Maybe you're like, you know what? My goal is to segue into a completely different job by the end of the year. I'm going to really grow my side hustle, and I no longer want to be working for this larger company. Something like that's going to happen. And so if you're wanting to make some big changes, and I really encourage this for you, Virgo, because you are going to be very impacted by the Mars retrograde later this year, okay? As Mars goes retrograde through your 10th house later, and it's the ruler of your 8th, there's some transformations, there's some changes. There can be some budgeting cuts, there can be some layoffs, there can be a sense of also just feeling like you're not making enough, so there's a need to change your job. So if you're already in that mindset now and you're seeing the writing on the wall, this is the new moon that you want to use to set those intentions, so that way you can go through that transformation and that shift later this year with ease and with grace and without a lot of stress. I love this for you. Ace of Cups. Ace of Coins, Ace of Cups. So this is like, what do I love, right? It's funny because this can also be about relationships, new partnerships, right? Maybe somebody that you're meeting at work. The fact that it's involving Mercury, it's about how you want to identify out in the world. So it can be status changes. Like sometimes people are like, now I'm in a relationship, now I'm single, now I'm divorced. Those things can come up as well with some of the retrogrades in your 10th. But I think that it's really about getting into something where you feel like you love what you're doing. Maybe you're accepting a proposal. So somebody's proposing that you work together. Maybe it's making you realize that there need to be changes at work because of just how drained you're feeling emotionally, and that something's not in alignment, and you're only willing to take a position if it's something that you love. Very good card for you. I'm loving it. Let me know, does love show up at work some way? Maybe. Okay, so now we have Libra rising. So this is a fellow air sign for you, Libra. So like I said, it's going to do well on you. New moon in your 9th, helping you change and transform, bringing in new beliefs, opportunities for travel, mentors, or new educational goals. So, you know, Mercury's been retrograde here. It's been really helpful, I think, in like kind of helping you figure out, what do I believe in? You know, where am I going? What is the bigger plan of my life? And there's been like a crisis of faith for many of you because it rules also your natal 12. So there's this sense of kind of like you're feeling in the dark and you're not really sure what's going to be panning out when it comes to education, beliefs, or travel. I would say that pay attention, because this can be if you are wanting to take a new course, if you're wanting to teach a new course, if you're wanting to plan a trip or anything like that. This is the new moon that you're going to be able to do it. There can be new programs, there can be bigger trips, there can be more of an expansion of a particular belief that's taking place later this year as a result of this. And particularly for Libra risings, just watch out with like travel stuff, because I have a feeling that this is like you going like, okay, I really want to go somewhere. Let's plan this big, you know, adventure, this big trip later in the year. So you're kind of restructuring all this with the retrograde right now. Or it could be a bigger move. So some of you guys may also be planning on moving. And so you're setting this goal right now that's like, okay, we're going to be able to kind of get the show on the road and really do this later in the year. Or launch something. Some of you guys are going to be teaching or taking courses or traveling somewhere to learn. Queen of Wands, I like it. This is about being creative. This is about following your passion. This is about your desire, making magic happen. It's about creativity and what you're bringing to life, right? Because it's a fire element. It can be that you're collaborating with a fire sign, so it can be like an Aries or a Leo or a Sag. It can also be that you're just becoming more passionate about what your beliefs are, confident, independent, self-assured, optimistic, charismatic, taking the initiative to be able to bring something to life. You got Jupiter in your 7th house, so it's aspecting that right now. So partners are coming in to say, hey, let's collaborate, let's do this together. Anything is possible. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, you got a new moon happening in your natal 8th house. That's sexy. So the 8th house deals with other people's money, right? People say sex. Yeah, okay. It's more about how you communicate and how you can communicate or think differently when it comes to resources, when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to talks and secret information. There can be really interesting conversations that come up about other people's money and things that you are uncovering. This is about transformation of joint resources, embracing change, and some of you guys might be more open to therapy, the occult, mysticism, being able to figure out how the mind works. There can be some sense of being like, I need to go deeper and I need to talk about this trauma. There's this thing that's bothering me. I don't know how to let it go. Scorpio. Remember, the eclipses are happening in your sign. So there is this sense for Scorpio sun, Scorpio moon, especially Scorpio rising, of having to let go of something. Gemini creates a quincunx and an inconjunct to your sign. So 8th house crisis, baby. There's stuff going through your 8th house. You're like, I'm worried about money. You know, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay this? How are we going to pay something off? How are we going to make more? Are we going to qualify? Have the conversations about the things that you're afraid of. Have the conversations about merger. Realize that this new moon is about going deeper, and it's going to give you the opportunity to be able to uncover that once you talk about these things, it doesn't have to be so scary. It doesn't have to be this thing that you have hidden in the dark. Card that I get is the Emperor. This is about handling business. This is about being a boss. This is about dealing with a father figure. This is about dealing with Mars energy. Your chart ruler, Mars, is now in Aries. So it's going through your 6th. There's a lot of busy work, right? There's a lot of work that you have to do. There's a lot of errands you have to run. You're running around doing all kinds of stuff. You're focused on building something, launching something. You're focused on fitness, wellness, right? Your diet. But this can also be about fatherhood, becoming a parent, dealing with a parent, realizing that you have to be channeling this more masculine energy, which is kind of contradicting because, you know, Scorpio energy is feminine, but it's ruled by Mars. So it's this more passion, desire, leveling up, handling something. Look for this. This is what's going to be happening for you, Scorp. All right, for Sag and Sag rising, you got a new moon in your 7th house, setting the stage for a clean slate for relationships. So this is wonderful. If you want to meet somebody new, if you want to communicate better with a partner, if you want to go deeper and long-term future planning with a business partner, with a romantic partner, if you want to launch a business with a romantic partner, if you're looking for support, this is the time to do it. New relationship opportunities always come from a new moon. This can also bring in counselors though, therapists, people who can kind of support you in your daily routine, talking more possibly to somebody who's helping you kind of structure media, especially in regards to a business, or a relationship that you might have with a sibling. So if you're like, I really want to meet somebody, set the intention. Although Godspeed, Sag and Sag rising, you guys have a Mercury retrograde right there, right now. I have a feeling that a lot of Sages are either in a situation where they've met somebody that is triggering things and it's bringing up thoughts of like an ex, or there's a sense of you meeting somebody new and like just getting back into the dating game and then being like, oh my God, I'm not over somebody. You know, I've realized there's still stuff that's lingering that's keeping me from really being able to go deeper into a relationship. There are some of you that are realizing that you just cannot communicate with your partner and they're a total pain in the ass right now, and that it's really hindering your ability to feel like you have control over your life. It depends. Sending you lots of love regardless of where you're at in that spectrum. But know that you're setting an intention right now to communicate more efficiently with partners. Part of this requires you to turn the knob down, to not talk so much, to listen to other people. Hear what other people have to say. The Sun and Mercury are hanging out in the 7th house. You gotta hear what they have to say. Know that it's also going to make trines later in the next month to Saturn, which is going to amplify and make it possible for you to communicate and express things. So if you need space, if you need freedom, if you're being triggered, right, or if you're acting a little all over the place, you can communicate more efficiently with others. But later this year, when Mars goes retrograde, there can be a sense of like people from the past coming back to you. There can be a sense of you thinking about or reminiscing about the past, having second thoughts about a romantic partner. So really set goals revolving around clear communication with relationships and people that not only can hear you, but people who have something to teach you, so you can learn to communicate more efficiently. Card that I get is Ace of Wands. So it's action, right? I mean, come on, Mars and Jupiter in your 5th. You're like, I'm in love. I want to go places. I want to travel. I want to have fun. Let's do this. But are you rushing into something? Are you? There can be a lot of passion right now. There can be a lot of desire. There can be a sense of things moving very quickly. But there can also be a sense of you being like, I need this. I earned this. You know, I really want something new. I want an energetic shift. New beginnings are possible. We've pulled the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Coins, the Ace of Cups. I'm waiting for the Ace of Swords. Do you guys feel that? Is it coming? New projects, inspiration, ignited passion, opportunities, potential energy, and enthusiasm. Creative work. So it's not just romantic partners, collaboration, but it can come from romantic partners that are having you feel inspired and like ready to go. Cap and Cap rising. You got a new moon in Gemini. This is taking place in your 6th house. Oh my goodness. How are you guys doing? Right? With the squares that are going on, with the trines that are going on. Capricorn, you are in the driver's seat. You're in control. Don't be toxic. I love you. Don't be toxic. Realize that if you're getting kind of sassy, if you're getting kind of irritated, it's because you're still going through this transformational period. You're in the tail end of your Pluto transit. Okay? You're in the tail end. You're about to cross the finish line. So it's really important for you to really be open to changing and transforming, opening your heart, right? That's what this Mercury retrograde is about. It's trying to get you to open your heart space, to communicate, to be more playful, more creative, and be willing to change. But this new moon is happening in your natal sixth, which on one hand is great, because if you need to get organized, if you need to start a new diet, if you need to go to the doctor, if you need to take the pet to the vet, if there is a need to organize your office space or bring in new tech or new tech support, if you need to move your offices, if you need to reorganize something, this is the time to do it. But your sixth house and Mercury is kind of like, okay, you know, are you making time for travel? Are you making time for your health? What are you learning? Set new health goals, set new schedule goals. Realize that if your health has been a mess or if your schedule has been a mess recently, it's actually because you're not creating enough time for your heart space. You're not creating enough time for dating, for romance, for fun. You're not just allowing yourself just to have a little bit of time to not have something scheduled. Okay, there is a need for you to be experiencing love and pleasure. This Mercury retrograde in your fifth is all about that. I think you need a vacation. You're going to say, I've got too much on my plate. I'm going to say, figure it out. Structure your life in a way where you have playtime, because you need that downtime. Otherwise, you're going to get kind of sassy, you know? So if you have new goals, if you've been struggling with some health issues, if you're like, that's it, I'm going to make a change, I'm going to be healthier, start doing it. Get walking, right? On a treadmill around, you know, your neighborhood. Start doing anything that's going to be increasing your lung health. If you need to make dietary or supplement changes, do it. Card that I get is the Knight of Wands. Wonderful. That's like action. I'm liking that. And you know, the sixth house can be a bit of like an annoying house. I know, I understand that. You know, but it is making positive aspects, right? It is making all of these fun sextiles to Jupiter and Mars in your fourth. So you're emotionally motivated to make these changes. Maybe you got to clean your house up first. Maybe you got to move. Maybe you need to organize your garage. Maybe you got to clean out your kitchen. I don't know. But there is a sense of you being like, I'm looking around going like, emotionally this ain't cutting it, so I got to make a change. I got to do something different. I think it's about organization and health, or structuring your schedule so you can be able to do these things. This is motivation, it's energy, it's quick moving. You know, the Knight of Wands is like, we're doing this now. It can be somebody who comes in to help you get motivated. There can be some hot tempers that can kind of come up with this card though, so you can feel a little testy. I think you're gonna like it once the planets are kind of, at least Venus and, you know, Mercury and Taurus, it's going to help you communicate in a much more heart-centered space, and I think you're going to feel a little bit more grounded, but this is going to kind of turn up the volume, at least when it comes to health, wellness, and motivation. Working up a sweat, maybe. Aquarius and Aquarius rising. How's it going? You have got a new moon in a fellow air sign, so this is wonderful for you. It's in your fifth house, which is about creativity, projects, playtime, children, anything in regards to love, pregnancy, right? If you want to start a new creative project, you want to start a new hobby, if you're going back and forth, do I do this? Do I do that? Do I like this? Do I like that? Mercury's retrograde there right now. Are you trying to figure out how to communicate with a younger person, a romantic partner, or a child better? There can be some sense of just being a little bit stressed out about one of these topics. Thankfully, there's positive aspects that are coming from this, so it's all about communication, relaying information. Maybe you need a little bit more fun time. Maybe you need a vacation. Maybe there is a need for you to sit down and have a heart-to-heart with a younger person or a child. Is somebody romantically from your past coming back, right? Somebody that you've been involved with. Possibly. There's a sense of going back and forth. You know, do I love this person? Do I not? Do I still want to be with them? Do I give them a second chance? Are we in love? Are we going to take the next step? It's making sextiles to Aries. So there can be lots of conversations about creative projects, conversations about investments. There can be talking about babies, you know, pregnancy. If you're trying to get pregnant with a new moon in your fifth house, it's setting the stage. It's making it super fertile. But there's some conversations you need to have before maybe you have another one, or maybe before you take on another hobby or another creative project. Regardless, this is a great place for you to really focus on the love that you give and your heart's desire. Three of Cups. So this is fun. This is a fun card. Celebrations, parties, gatherings. You know, maybe you've got like a really full schedule. There's a couple parties, birthdays, people you got to see. You got to travel. You're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot on my plate. I got to be a couple different places. But it's fun, right? This is about fun. I think it's interesting that the Three of Cups comes up because it can be talking about doubles or triples, that you're kind of like, you know, trying to juggle a couple different things, or it can be a sense of, you know, moving from 2 people to 3 people. So you're like, well, I was dating these 2 people. Let me see what else is there. That's a bad example. It's very Gemini energy. Or, you know, you've been dating two people and you're like, I can't juggle both. I got to pick one or the other. Or, you know, you already have a kid and then you add another kid to the mix and, like, you know, 2 becomes 3. Something about that. This is a positive card though. It's about friendship, support, shared joy, having a good time. I mean, I think a retrograde in your 5th is like, what makes me happy? And how can I do more of that? How can I integrate more of that? Maybe I need to, you know, do a couple different things just to see how it feels and what might particularly stick. Look for these parties, celebrations, friendships, collaborations. It looks like a good time. Last but not least, we got Pisces and Pisces rising. We've got a new moon in your 4th house, my dear Pisces. What's going on with your living situation? Tell me, okay? Were you gonna move? Did you have a change of plans? Were you gonna go to one place and something else popped up? Did you buy a house but you're trying to wrap another house up? Do you have to sell a house before you can buy a house? What is going on? The good thing is that a new moon in the 4th house is new opportunities for your domestic home zone, similar to Virgo, I would say. Really think everything through right now. Think everything through in terms of where you are moving. Think everything through in terms of what you are buying for your home or property. Think everything through in terms of just really making sure you're liking where you're going, because it makes me feel like there's a possibility that there can be some changes going on in your home later this year. And if you are moving to a place that you don't have experience in, you haven't visited, if you're buying something without looking at it, if you're signing a lease thinking you're really gonna like the roommate, it can be super messy later this year. I'm just trying to be honest with you. Because when Mars goes retrograde through this part of your chart, you might realize like, man, I wish I never moved here, or I never bought this house, or now I have to move again. So think everything through, read the fine print, do your research. Know that a new moon here is giving you the opportunity for a new home, a second home, moving house, or new happenings with family. So it can be new communications with family, new family trips, family moving in with you, you moving to be with family, that kind of stuff. It is in some funky aspects though. I mean, it is going to be squaring whatever you have in Pisces. And later this year, my concern is that when Mars goes retrograde, it's not just going to be retrograde in an angular house, your 4th, which can be about going back home or leaving a place, but it's going to square Neptune in your chart and Jupiter. So it makes me feel like there's this sense of like, maybe you rushed it, or maybe you did it too soon, or maybe it looked like a good idea at the time, and then you realize, actually, I hate this. I need to make a change. So be very careful with the decisions you make. If you can keep your options open, if you can kind of be a little loosey-goosey, maybe do like a short term, or if you have time and if you realize that you can stay where you're living now, you can develop a place before you move there, just planning. Planning is everything. It's not easy right now with a retrograde in your 4th and with Neptune in your sign. So there can be some things that you overlook, or it seems like a great idea and then you get there. Some of you guys are also planning, trying to like move to a foreign place, and you're probably experiencing some hiccups, or you're trying to buy land. Now, here's the cool thing. This is sextiling Jupiter, you know, in Aries. So it is saying like, hey, you know, you've already been focusing on making money, putting it into something, trying to accumulate something, trying to, you know, build a home, finance a move. So that's already there. Just don't get too hasty, okay? Card that I get is the Lovers. You know, the tarot can be so sassy sometimes. It's sassy. I love it. What does this mean? Options, choices. Gemini, saying there's another choice. Or are you moving to be closer to someone you love? Are you moving in with somebody because you're ready to take the next step? Are you moving across the country or to another place because of someone that you're in love with or someone that you want to be with? Divine love, soul connection, choices, harmony, relationships, alignments, balance, and romance. Do you realize in order to facilitate coming together closer with another person, you have to make a move, right? And is it this restructuring that's happening right now where you're like, you know what, I gotta look further for love, or I gotta be willing to go to another place for love, or if I really love them, I'll make the sacrifice, I'll move in with them. Maybe there's a sense of going back and forth until you make a bigger decision later this year. If you're just trying a place out, if you're looking to see what you do love, keep a couple different cities on your list, look at a couple different neighborhoods, keep your options open, know that a second choice or a second option can appear. And also Mercury rules your 7th. So you've got Mercury going retrograde in your 4th. Romantic partners from the past can come back. There can be a sense of reflecting on them, wondering if there's still something there, if you can connect with them. If you were to go to their home, or if you were to drive around anywhere that reminds you of them, maybe you're like, I hope I run into them, you know. Be careful. Would not recommend this. This is kind of saying there's a second path opening up for you. Guys, thank you so much for staying and listening to this. I know it's a little bit longer than usual. I appreciate you as always. Thank you so much for your likes, your comments, your subscriptions. Sharing is caring. Share this with other people if you think that they would vibe out with what I have to say about the astrology. Quick little things. We've got a live astrological reading going on my channel on Saturday. So every Saturday we do live readings. It's going to be astrology. Last Saturday was nuts. 3 hours of readings around the eclipse. We had so many people. It was awesome though. So I would love to see more people who are joining those. I am booked out clear till July. So people go to my website and they're like, what? I can't talk to you for 2 months. I'm sorry. I'm very busy. I do want to talk to you. So if you want a one-on-one reading, you can book one on my website. But that's what's cool about going on my live show on Saturdays, that you can actually reserve a question. It is a reduced rate. It's all by donation. You can ask any question about a natal placement in your chart or a transit, and I will pull up your chart live and talk to you about what's happening. So stay tuned for that. We post that link on the community tab, 7:00 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be Saturday if you want me to look at your chart and answer a question. Great way to get in and chat with me. By joining my memberships level 3, you're guaranteed to get one reading once a month from me. Awesome way to support the channel and make sure that you are kind of getting a regular reading. You can get 3 cards or you can get 1 astrological question a month. Also, check out my website below at beyondtheveiledtarot.com if you want to get a session. I have all of my availability up. You can book something. So if you've got a birthday coming up, if you have questions about a relationship, I do synastry, composite readings, relationship readings as well, solar returns, transit readings, natal charts, and election astrology if you want to pick a perfect date for getting married, traveling, launching a book, anything like that. But also, if you go to my website, you're going to see something pop up, and it's going to be for my newsletter. Now, I'm not going to spam you, but if you would like to sign up for my newsletter in regards to my new tarot course that's coming, I'm going to be teaching a live set of courses that's all about reading tarot, the intuitive art of reading tarot, and the way that I do it. So if you like the way that I read, if you want to learn more about all of the cards, the spreads, all of that stuff, please sign up for my newsletter. You're going to be first to know when that's available. I always have a set number of seats for classes. I will not go over a certain number. So it's important to get on this so that way when it becomes available, you can sign up. And I always do $100 off reduced rate for my live classes. So you definitely want to get in on that. We'll be selling my package Astro 101 soon. I'm just wrapping it up. We have to put the finishing touches on the last lecture this week. Hope to get this out in the next month. So if you guys missed my Astro 101 course, it is 7 lectures. I don't even know how many hours. 2 or 3 hours of visual demonstration and slides, and also homework and all kinds of stuff. So if you missed that, don't worry, we're gonna have that out soon. You can still get it. And last but not least, check out my Midheaven podcast that I do with my partner in crime, Mike the Peace Dealer. Every Monday we've got a new one that comes out, so check that out. It's on my channel link, so if you go and see what other channels I'm affiliated with, you'll see the Midheaven. It's fun, it's very different. This is more kind of like, I don't know. I don't even know what I would call this. It's just, this is more kind of grounded and kind of practical, right? I mean, everything that you're seeing on the Midheaven is just us drinking on the internet and talking about astrology, and it's a little bit of a shit show, but it's fun. It's funny. I think we need more comedy to kind of get us through some stuff that's going on in the world right now. So if you want to check that out and you want to see some lighter astrological humor with a splash of something to drink, check that out. Otherwise, guys, I'll be back this week. I'm going to be doing videos intermittently throughout the week. I hope this is a good new moon for you. Please use it. It's very powerful. I'm excited to see how it manifests. Otherwise, I will catch you in just a couple of days' time. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will see all of you very soon. Take care.